Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
This is Believe You Me on the Gas Digital Network.
DC John Jones.
Okay.
We talked about this. And since then, they're going back and forth on Instagram constantly. DC obviously wants the fight with Brock Lesnar for obvious reasons. It's going to be a massive fight. But they're going back and forth on social media like crazy. And DC just buried Jones on social media. He put a bunch of photos from him being led away in handcuffs, from him crying, from him at a parole hearing. Also, just a string of photos. And he buried him with some nasty, nasty words. But I would say, in my mind, all that is doing is hyping the fight. Yeah. Would you not agree?
Oh, of course. Everybody loves a real deal grudge match. You're not going to sell anything in the world better than two guys who really fucking hate each other. And DC and Jones, they really, really hate each other. And as much as DC does not want to fight John Jones, the more he acknowledges them, the more he's feeding that fire. And I love the idea of Brock Lesnar, but I got to be honest with you, it's like we all know what Brock is. Brock is just a quick comeback for a payday, have a big fight. It's a freak show fight. It doesn't have any real implications for the title. And we're talking earlier today, it's supposed to be a sport. And that's the fight that, look, we kind of want to see. And now Dana White said that if we see it, it might be at heavyweight, which is something that we talked about in the past couple of weeks as well.
What did Dana White say?
Dana White said, here, let me pull this up. Dana White says he wants a third fight between John Jones and Cormier. He says the hatred is real with these two. It's unbelievable, White told TMZ Sports. I'd like to see it. I think the fans would like to see it. What would be interesting is we might see it at heavyweight. I'm going to do whatever DC wants to do. I'm going to do everything in my power to make that man happy. So, yeah.
That's nice. Well, that's good, though. That's nice that Dana saying that. That's obviously going to be encouraging for DC, that Dana saying he wants to do whatever makes Cormier happy, which is right, which is what should happen. Let's remember, Cormier is a company man. He's a 2-division champ. He's a commentator, and he's a great human being. You put all those things together, that should be the guy that's not pandering to, because he's not pandering, but that should be the guy that you do right by. Jones, on the flip side, being stripped of a belt 3 times. I mean, whichever way you look at it, being stripped of a belt 3 times is pretty impressive. Yeah. It's, for all the wrong reasons, but that's incredible. To be stripped of a belt 3 times and then to get it back 3 times will be even more impressive, because he's only got it back twice, obviously, but he could get it back 3 times.
It's even look, Jones has beat Cormier twice at light heavyweight. It's hard to get up for the fight a 3rd time. But at heavyweight, look, I know what they're doing. And
No. It's not hard to get up for the fight a 3rd time when...
At light heavy.
If you're John Jones, and in your mind, let's play devil's advocate. Let's pretend John Jones is telling the truth, okay? Let's pretend that everything he says is true. I'm not saying it isn't. But, he did get popped for steroids. But let's say we believe John Jones. So in his mind, Cormier is parading around with his belt, which the last time he fought, he knocked out Cormier, but now Cormier has it. So if you're John Jones, it's very easy to get up for that 3rd fight, because you're like, this asshole is walking around with my belt on.
I'm saying from a fan's perspective, I have a hard time wanting to see that fight a 3rd time. It's, light heavyweight. I've just watched it, and it's hard to. The whole thing puts a nasty taste in my mouth. And I said this right after John Jones got popped. I was like, shame on him for putting the entire light heavyweight division in this position, because it sort of discredits, DC's title reign as a 205-pound champion. Like he's the heavyweight champion, which I love. He's undoubtedly the heavyweight champion, but he lost that 205-pound title. Whether John Jones is using steroids or not, it just remains in everyone's mind that he lost that shot. So I don't really want to see that fight again. The whole thing just kind of has a nasty cloud over it. However, at heavyweight, I go, there's a real storyline there. Daniel Cormier not having to cut weight, having fought, a long career at heavyweight. There's a real question there. Like maybe that's enough to give him the advantage over John Jones, that power. I don't really know. I don't know the type of cut that it is for DC. You would probably be able to speak to it better. And hopefully we can get DC on the show in the next couple weeks, because how much does the cut down to 205 pounds change the fighter that DC is, for better or worse?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the cuts to 205 and the weight cuts in general throughout mixed martial arts, they got to change because they are massively detrimental to the fighters for the length of their careers and for their safety and for the consumer, the quality of their performance. In fact, McGregor, we were talking about an interview that he did yesterday at the PI. He even talks about that in there. And I talked about this last week. There needs to be more weight classes. I think there will be more weight classes. But, if we're to believe John Jones, though, because I know you say you have trouble getting up for it a third time, but talking about the weight cuts and all that type of stuff, his own coach Winklejohn came out this week and said that Jones is so scared to even eat out these days. Winklejohn said there's no doubt something got into John somehow, but it's scary now. He added, Jones is even scared to eat out. He's scared to eat anywhere. He's like, gosh, what if the waiter doesn't like me? This boy doesn't like me. The bus boy doesn't like me. Who knows what's going on? Who knows what's going to happen out there? And it's kind of scary that way if you think about it. I'm sorry. I got to respect his coach because his coach has got his fighters back. But the average waiter the fucking Cheesecake Factory isn't seeing John Jones says, "Oh, I'm just going to put a few sprinkles of testosterone onto this cheeseburger." Do you know what I mean?
Where the fuck is he going to get testosterone? First of all, it's like, I just happen to have it in my locker at Fridays. I have a whole jar of human growth hormone that I'm going to put into his fucking disco fries.
Inject it into his cheese, into his chicken breast right now. I mean, listen, it's great. I mean, I like to see coaches being loyal to their fighters, but fuck me, that is a stretch.
That's going to be, I can't wait till we get that. It's like, listen to me, I didn't take anything. I did have bottomless breadsticks at Olive Garden though. And who knows what's in those.
And the guy that delivered them was fucking jacked.
Yeah.
Okay? He was jacked. And I'm pretty sure it was a hot day and he sweat onto one of my curly fries, and so that's there it is. And when you think about it, it's pretty simple, really. Think about it.
To be honest, now that he's saying it, I think that it's probably more likely that somebody spiked his mimosa at brunch somewhere.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because this news story actually got a response from a friend of the show and friend of mine, of course, Colby Covington.
Colby.
He put, at Johnny Bones. Yeah, John, Applebee's keeps steroids and cocaine on side to sprinkle in your soup du jour. You're such a fucking ass clown. Now, far be it from me to, find Colby Covington funny, but that is a pretty funny tweet.
Yeah, he doesn't like John Jones, but he nailed it. John Jones, I don't know what it is, man. He just doesn't know how to be himself. That's really what it is, because nobody cares. In MMA, it's every personality type.
Well, to be fair, this was his coach.
His coach. But it came from somewhere. And I think it does come from John. I think this is John's problem. He is a victim of not knowing how to be himself. Because in MMA, we have everything. We have the bad guys, we have the good guys, the Christians that love Jesus, we have the guys that come from every walk of life, black, white, Asian, Russian, Chechnyan, everything in between, every culture in between. It doesn't matter. You can get fans in this sport and people like you if you're real. That, I think, the whole concept of as real as it gets, that's in the line of the UFC. I think people just sniff out phonies, and John Jones comes off, in my opinion, like a phony, and everything has a layer of bullshit. Everything that he says, everything that sort of surrounds him, there's just this glistening of bullshit on it that I don't really buy. And I like him because he's so fucking talented. I would like him if he just wasn't such a bullshitter.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about that time and time again. Everybody says the same thing, so I don't want to repeat what we've said in the past. But you're right. I mean, that's what everyone says. I mean, he just needs to embrace it, which he kind of has been doing lately, to be fair. And he is just coming back from, a steroid ban. So he's still got to try and, clear his name and all that type of stuff.
Did anything come of his ratting thing? Is this just going away like a week later? Like
the snitching thing?
Yeah, the snitching thing.
I don't know. Harrington, what's the latest on that?
Well, DC said today on Ariel Helwani's show, he called him Johnny Brasco, which I think is hysterical. But he says that basically now Jones is the go-to guy.
That's pretty good.
he's the go-to guy for USADA. So anytime USADA needs information on anything, they can go to John Jones. His cooperation is ongoing, and that's part of the deal with the suspension being lifted.
Yeah, but that's so weak. Is because it's like, so okay, Sean O'Malley has tested positive. Let's call John Jones. They call John Jones. He's there. They're like, yeah, Sean's tested positive. He's like, yeah, and what? He's like, he doesn't live anywhere near me. I think he lives in Arizona. I don't train with him. I don't know anything about. Okay, good talk. Boom, hang up. A few weeks later, John, someone else, don't know them. I'm sorry, I don't buy that at all. How can they call John Jones every time or when they're looking for information? I don't know. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I don't.
Something weird.
But look, where there's smoke, there's fire. Something had to have happened there. I don't believe that John Jones' agents and managers would have let the rumor get out if there wasn't some truth to it. It wouldn't even go that far. You get what I'm saying? Like the fact that it even got out that he snitched.
At the greater good. You got to look at the greater good. The greater good is: do you want to spend 4 years suspended, right? And the best years of your career go, and in 4 years' time, who knows what's going to happen? Or do you want to just take on that you were a snitch and come back now? It's a real difficult one because as a man, that's like one of the worst things you can do. You know what I mean? Nobody likes to tell tale. Nobody wants to be a rat. No one wants to be a grass or a snitch, But if it gets you off and you're going to be able to fight again and earn millions of dollars.
Look, I understand why he did it, but
it's a tricky one.
You don't snitch. You don't do it. Or you don't let it get out that you fucking did it. Jesus Christ. Get your people, get on their shit. I mean, goddamn.
But for him to come back, he has to publicly say, I was a snitch, which is, it's what he's done. Listen, it's not a theory. That is what he's done.
Why wouldn't he, if I was John, you know what I would have done? This is what I would have done. I wouldn't have snitched on anybody. I would have said, cool, I'm John fucking Jones, okay? I'm going to go fight in Belarus, out of the USADA jurisdiction, out of the United States, and I'll spend the rest of my career. Why can't he? Because he'll never get licensed again in the States?
Because you never get licensed again in the States.
So what? He's John Jones. He can go make pay-per-views even if he just did it by himself. Even if he just sold 100,000 pay-per-views, which he wouldn't, he would just go fight the best fighters in the world out of the UFC. He could be the promoter himself. I just have a different attitude. I would just say, fuck it, dude. I fucked up this path. I can no longer fight in the UFC, but now I'm going to go and fight overseas. And we've watched it happen with a few guys. Didn't Vanderlei just disappear for a little while and then just like, he just fought in Bellator? Wasn't he not supposed to fight for a few years?
Yeah, absolutely. So hold on. So theoretically, you're saying, and it's not a bad idea. You're saying,
not a bad idea.
Kiss my ass. I'm going to go to England, where everybody knows who John Jones is. He's a big star. England's 8 hours ahead. Nothing too crazy. So they'll do a late night fight, in the UK, midnight, 4:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday in LA, 7 p.m. in New York. And structure it as a pay-per-view. Do it that way. He keeps 75% of the money with the other people, the promoters and whatnot, the organizers. They take the rest. Fuck, I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, why not, dude?
Well, the problem is I'm not John Jones, so.
Yeah. But I mean, look, I'm just saying that is a better option in my mind than going and snitching and having the reputation of being a guy who's ratting other people out for doing the same shit that you're doing. You're not above it. It's not like he's like, oh my God, I saw this guy doing it. It's dangerous for the sport. Like if you ratted somebody out and you wouldn't, because you grew up as a fucking Grinch hooligan, so that's against your culture. But if you ratted somebody out, it wouldn't be crazy because you're so against steroids that I'd be like, all right, well, dude, you want to clean up the sport. But John Jones is out there doing steroids. So you can't fucking rat people out for doing the same shit you're doing.
Yeah, I get it. It's weird. Unless I guess at some point USADA or Jones gives us a name or does something, then I think the whole thing is just a very, very clever way of getting out of it. I really do. And I hear your point where you say that's too detrimental to his reputation for him to for them to say that if it wasn't true. But listen, the fact of the matter is he's going to be fighting very soon. Apparently, him versus Gus. I think, Harrington, you put that in the notes, him versus Gus. But the only problem is that apparently, and where are you getting this information, by the way, Harrington? You said apparently Jones isn't getting pay-per-view points. So that's like the hold-up. But where are you hearing that from, Harrington?
From an SI reporter. Let me look up her name right now.
Her?
Okay. Amy Kaplan.
Yeah, she's a reporter for Fansided. That's the Sports Illustrated's MMA arm. She said that that was the main holdup for it right now. DC actually went on Ariel Helwani's show today and said that he believes that fight will be for the light heavyweight title, and he has requested that he has the first shot at the winner, so he can get his title back.
Hold on. So they're making Jones versus Gus for the light heavyweight title. Is that what you're saying?
That, according to DC, that's what it looks like right now.
And sort of the same thing they invoked with Connor. It's like are they officially gonna strip DC of the light heavyweight title?
That's what it looks like.
Because DC, when he was on our show, was like, "Oh, I've never heard anything like that." They didn't say anything on both, and he was very adamant that he was going to be able to keep both.
Well, DC also said that he wants to fight Jones now. However, he has a hand injury that's going to keep him out until 2019. So I think this is just a way to keep the division, moving, because there's really been no motion at the top since he made the fight with Stipe.
You know what? For DC, I kind of get it, but I really think that that's a mistake for DC. Now, if his hand's injured, his hand is injured. Simple as that. And the UFC want to keep the division rolling along. But that's giving Jones a warm-up fight before he gets to DC. You know what I'm saying? Gives him a chance to blow off those cobwebs, to find his rhythm again, to get in the octagon, get over those octagon jitters, as they call them. Have a warm-up fight, essentially, is what I'm saying. And practice all that stuff before he gets to Cormier. So that could end up biting Cormier in the ass. Or Jones might not fucking beat Gustafsson. You know what I mean? That's not a given. You got to remember, even though they said Jones didn't really train for Gustafsson, which by all accounts is true. Most people said, and his coaches and whatnot, I've heard, from the inner circle, the circle of trust, so to speak, that apparently he wasn't training for Gustafsson at all, and he only just barely beat him, But it is what it is. It was a close fight. Whichever way you slice it, it was a close fight. So it's not a given that he beats Gustafsson. So, yeah, interesting, man. A lot of shenanigans going on, Lewis.